Perfectionism is holding you back. It is not a flex. It is not a strength. It is just killing your progress. And really, it's a weakness disguised as something that's quote unquote positive. Now, in today's episode, I want to get into it because what I've seen with high achieving and highly ambitious people is we want to be highly disciplined, which we talked about in last week's episode. But then that leads us down a path of trying to be perfect because we're tying perfection to our quality of work and our quality of a person and our worthiness in general. So I want to get into how to overcome that, how to overcome perfectionism, and what you can identify as instead so that you make progress, you achieve your goals, and you do so in a peaceful way. Let's get into it in today's episode. It's going to be a really good one because I know firsthand what it's like to be a perfectionist because I was a perfectionist for a very long time, and I work with a lot of clients who are recovering from that perfectionism tendencies, and I want to help you do it in a couple simple steps. Welcome back to the Fire Inside podcast. Thank you so much for being here and coming back every single week. If this is your first time tuning into this podcast, this is the Fire Inside podcast where we talk about the fire in your heart and the ambition you have in your soul. A lot of times what I see is people know what they want to do. They know they need to make a change to get there, but they want to do it with more ease and they're not exactly sure how to do that. So that's what we tackle in this podcast. All things personal development, time management, and what you need to do to level up in your mindset and in your actions so you can live as your highest self. I am a time management coach. I'm Sade Kelly, and I specialize in helping people reclaim their time so that they can manage their work, their wellness, and their relationships in a peaceful way. Now, I've been known to help clients reach their goals 6 times faster and save 28 or more hours per week. What would you do with that much time? I mean, there's so many possibilities, and I've seen clients completely transform their lives from starting new businesses to doubling or tripling or even quadrupling their income, spending way more time with their family, more time with themselves, and just achieving goals like finding a partner or losing weight, things they never thought they could do because they didn't have the time that they've been able to do from reclaiming their time. But in today's episode, I really want to get into perfectionism because that is something I've seen that always shows up with the highly ambitious, highly achieving women and men that I work with. And what I've noticed is they really see perfectionism as a good thing. Sometimes, and some of them don't. Some of them see it as a bad thing, but they're not exactly sure how to overcome it. But a lot of them see it as a good thing. It's almost like that go-to answer when you ask someone like, why haven't you done this? Or why haven't you finished this? Oh, well, I'm trying to make it perfect. I'm trying to perfect it. I'm so used to things being really, really like excellent to the point where there's no mistakes. And I feel like it's my absolute best work. But really what they're doing is holding themselves back because they're holding themselves to this unbelievable standard. Now, perfectionism is our tendency to set excessively high standards for ourselves, accompanied by overcritical self-evaluations and fear of failure or fear of making mistakes. And I used to have a big fear of making mistakes, so I'm going to talk about that because that is absolutely holding us back. But there's also some mindsets that are holding us back. And one of the mindsets, the first one I'm going to talk about is the all or nothing mindset, also known as black and white thinking. Now, this is something that I have a lot, or I'll say that I used to have, and my therapist pointed it out to me at first because it was just how I kind of saw things because I was so used to being so great, right? Like I was so used to high achieving, trying to be so great, trying to strive for such high things that I thought there was always like perfection and there was a high standard of doing things, or there was just wrong. You were doing it wrong. You were making mistakes. You weren't strong. There was just complete opposite, right? There was either black or white, perfect or failure, good or bad, right or wrong. And there's a lot of gray area and there's a lot of middle in life. And I had to learn that. So that is one mindset that if you find yourself in that realm of, oh, there's either right or wrong, you're in that black and white, all or nothing mindset, and that's holding you back. It's a form of perfectionism. Another mindset I see is people having a fear of judgment, meaning they want to be accepted by every and anybody. And at the end of the day, we will never be accepted by any and everyone, right? There's people you don't like, so there has to be people that don't like you. I always think about that anytime I'm like, oh, I just want to be liked or I want to people please, which is another thing perfectionists tend to do. I realize that if there are people that I don't like or that not my favorite people, then I'm also not going to be liked by everyone, and I'm also going to have people that I am not their favorite person, and it is okay. So why do we fear judgment, or why do we fear not being enough? That's something I've had to overcome as well, because I've tied a lot of my achievement to my worth. So we're going to talk about that in today's episode. Another mindset that I see is perfectionism also leads to procrastination, right? So you're procrastinating because of what? You're trying to be perfect. You're trying to do it right. You're trying to do everything so flawlessly. And another mindset that I see perfectionists often suffer with is not being able to celebrate their successes, right? Not being able to just accept that they've won at something or that they've done good at something. They always are looking at things like that's not enough, or I hit that, but what's the next thing? And they're so future mindset focused that they can't sit down, be present, and celebrate their wins. If you've felt any of those things that I just described, I promise you, you're probably a perfectionist, or you have perfectionism tendencies or habits that you can learn to overcome. And the reason why I say it's a habit is because it's not an identity trait. A lot of times when people are identifying as a perfectionist, or that they're saying that they like to be perfect, they're claiming it to be something that's a part of them that they can't get rid of. But that's not true. It's something that you are habitually doing because you're so used to doing it. And it might even be ingrained in you, because I know I could say that it was ingrained in me for a long time and I still deal with it. It still comes up here and there. And I want you to know that it's not something that can necessarily be like quote unquote cured, but it's something that you can overcome. So this topic came about because I was actually talking to a friend the other day, and she was telling me about how her new habits are going. And she was saying, they're doing really well, but they're not exactly perfect yet. And I had to catch her in that, right? And I'm always weary with friends because I'm like, I'm not your coach, so I don't want to like coach you. But at the same time, I'm going to empower and coach people because like I like to inspire people. So I was like, you got to stop trying to perfect them, right? You have to accept that more often than not, if you're doing well, you're doing well. Like if you're doing what the new habit that you said you're going to be doing, if you're doing it 60, 70, 80%, basically more often than you're not doing it, then you're already killing it. You're already making such good progress. Like just give yourself the room to be great, right? Life is a quest, right? It is a journey. It is not a destination. We want to hit goals along the way, but we have to embrace that we are always going to be in search of something. We're always going to be striving for more, but it doesn't take away from the present moment and what we're experiencing right now. And I think when you're a perfectionist, you tend to take away from the moment right now because you're so used to the gold star, right? Think about it. In school, the top students always got what? Acknowledgement. They got the gold stars, while the kids who weren't doing well, they got red marks. They got deemed inadequate. They were like the problem child and may not have been put in the gifted and talented class like I was, or maybe you have. And while that's a great thing and it teaches us to strive and go after things, and I'm glad that I'm as ambitious as I am, and I believed I was smart from a young age, it also hindered us in a way because it internalizes that there is people who are better than others, and there's a right and a wrong. And it leaves us to crave perfectionism in all other aspects of our life, right? Because we start to tie our self-worth and our value as a person to how much we can achieve and how much we can strive to have in our lives. So we start to put this unbelievable, like really, really tough psychological, like boundaries or expectations onto ourselves so that we can avoid failure, so that we can avoid mistakes, so that we can be deemed as worthy or perfect or amazing or great. And it has very tough long-term consequences. So we're going to get into that. The first simple step that I want you to do to overcome perfection is let yourself learn. So we've all heard people say you either win or you lose. Now, that may work for some people. But if you are a recovering perfectionist, or if you are someone who has some perfectionism tendencies, that may not work for you because it didn't work for me. I don't like hearing losing, right? Just the word lose, oh, it makes me cringe. Okay. And it's okay if it makes you cringe as well. I'm sure you can relate to this. So what I did was reframe that. I stopped thinking about losing or mistakes, and I started thinking about I either win or I learn. That's it. I can allow myself to learn, aka make mistakes, but I just like to say learn. And the reason I like to say you either win or learn is I want to let go of the idea that I'm losing, because I'm never losing if I'm learning. If I win, that's great. I'm glad I achieved what I wanted to achieve. But if I learn, then I just learned what I need to do next. I learned what I could do better and what I don't want to do again, right? I learned that done is better than perfect because I get to learn something from getting it done and getting findings and getting data, so that I can just realize that this is a part of becoming a master at something. It takes practice and it takes making mistakes along the way in order to get to where I want to be. So if you are someone who doesn't like the word lose, or you don't want to think about losing, think about it as learning. I know when I started thinking about it as learning, I let go of trying to just be perfect, because I didn't need to be perfect. If I won, that was great. If I learned, that was also great. I could stop being afraid of asking others for help or letting people see me not do the best ever because I'm trying to figure out how to get better. And a lot of times people will give you so much more grace than you give yourself. And I learned that along the way when I would make mistakes, or I would say something wrong, or maybe I got tripped up on my words, or I didn't know exactly how I wanted to go about something, or what was the exact right strategy. I realized that there is no exact right strategy. There's just trying something out, seeing how it goes, learning from it. Trying something out, seeing how it goes, winning a couple times. Trying something new out again, learning it, seeing how it goes. And that's just life. If we stop trying to win all the time and try to be perfect all the time, then we'll end up learning along the way. So done is better than perfect. Allow yourself to learn. You either win or you learn. You don't need to be good at everything the first time you do it, right? Learn how to seek help without shame. Learn how to allow yourself to just be a beginner, to be in the messy middle, and to not have it all figured out while you're on the journey to figuring it out. If you just allow yourself to learn, I promise you, you will feel weight lifted off your shoulders. Now, the second step that I did to stop let perfectionism hold me back was I had to learn how to set reasonable goals for myself. So what that means is I stopped treating myself like I was a machine. I stopped treating myself like I was a robot, or that I was like some type of superwoman. And I realized that I am a human being. I am a normal human being. Now, I argue that I'm highly ambitious and a bit above average or normal. But the reason I said that is because actually I had to be humbled plenty of times from others that I need to stop trying to operate like a perfect person. And what that looked like for me, and I didn't even realize it sometimes, was I was always trying to push past everything. Like if I was tired, I tried to push past it. If I was not feeling it, I pushed past it. If I wasn't sure if I could do something, I pushed past it. If I was fearful of something, I pushed past it. And in some instances, that's amazing. It's ended up in some really great opportunities for myself. And sometimes you have to do that. You do have to push yourself, right? Because that does make you more disciplined. But you have to know how to teeter-totter between that thin line of discipline and perfectionism. And I'm still learning that line even for myself. But one thing I'll do is like check myself, and I'll go through these steps that I'm going through with you today. Like, are you trying to learn something, or are you trying to win so badly you're hurting yourself, right? Are you setting a reasonable expectation or goal for yourself, or is this a completely unbelievable, you're doing way too much and you need to reel it back in? So I think asking yourself questions can kind of help you figure out whether you need to be disciplined in the moment, or are you striving to be perfect? Are you trying to hit an impossible standard, or have you not even set the standard for yourself? So now you don't even know what you're trying to hit, but yet you're still feeling like you're not enough, or like you're doing way too many things and you're not seeing the results you want. You really have to know how to differentiate between those things. And that's something I help my clients do. And it's something I do through asking myself a series of questions and using these steps that I'm talking through in today's podcast. But setting reasonable goals for yourself will help you to overcome perfectionism. And setting reasonable goals means you have to also be organized with how you set your goals, meaning you want to trade really long, crazy to-do lists with like 91 items thinking you can get it all done on Monday for time blocking, for prioritization, for like really setting up yourself for success. So when you are planning your day, how much time are you putting into your goals that you have? Are you doing it within a reasonable manner, or are you pushing it too far? Only you can be able to really reel it in for yourself. Of course, you can always work with a coach and I can help you to figure that out for yourself as well. But I want you to take a moment and like really think about, am I setting reasonable goals for myself, or am I just trying to do way too much? And that's why I'm striving for perfection. And that's where you also have to see, am I focusing on critical tasks, or am I trying to focus on hitting every single task, right? Because it's also a difference between high impact and busy work. High impact leads to you striving to things that are important in your life, that make a difference in your life, that help you to reach higher levels, versus just doing busy tasks or doing everything makes you act like a machine, act like someone who can just do every and anything, but they're not actually things that move in the needle. So you really want to reel it in and think about, okay, am I taking consistent action on the critical things, on the high impact tasks that actually help me to achieve my reasonable goals? Or am I just doing way too much and I'm not actually seeing what I want in my life, and I'm just trying to be perfect for no reason? Like, I'm literally just putting myself to these high standards for no reason, but because I think it's right, or because I'm fearful of judgment, or I'm fearful what people will think of me, or I'm holding myself to an impossible standard. Now, the third step that I've done to overcome perfectionism is I have learned to focus on excellence instead of perfection. And I've seen the biggest changes. I've also helped clients shift their mind around this too, because excellence is more about the quality of being outstanding, of doing something extremely good. It's about consistently doing your best, whether you're showing up at 20%, 50%, or 100% that day. But it's really just aiming to improve, to produce higher quality results without the need to be flawless. And that's what makes that big difference between excellence and perfectionism. Perfectionism is you trying to be flawless, you appearing as like the highest, best, like perfect in the room and perfect person in the room, versus like, I'm just going to do really, really well. I'm going to be authentic. I'm not going to try to be flawless. I'm actually going to embrace my flaws. I'm going to embrace my creativity. I'm going to embrace my growth, because I know that life is full of errors. I'm full of errors. I'm someone who's still learning and growing, and it's okay. So when you can learn how to focus on excellence instead of perfection, it's going to make the biggest difference, because perfectionism will paralyze you. It will lead to you overworking. It will lead to you doing things last minute, cramming things in, procrastinating. It will lead to you burning out because you're doing way too much. Whereas aiming for excellence will leave you with room for growth, will make you feel more confident, excited, ready to take things on, and just strive to do things no matter what it is that you're trying to go after. Even when I sat down to record this podcast, you guys, you won't even believe, like, I sat down to record this podcast. I put my son down for a nap. He wakes up earlier from his nap than he usually does. Not only did he wake up from his nap, but he moved his diaper. He's in the stage where he's moving his diaper. Parents, y'all know it is annoying. He moved his diaper or pulled it off or something, and he had an abomination. Right? Like a big explosion in his diaper, within his sleep sack, in his crib. And then I went to change his outfit, and it was a fight, and it was just, he did the absolute most, right? It was a lot. I had to change my clothes. I had to change his clothes. It was disgusting. Okay. And then when I sat down to film this, my camera had this weird yellow lighting and it was glitching. Like, of course, all of that happens on the episode where I'm talking about perfectionism, right? And while I wanted to show up as an excellent person, an expert, and talk to you about this, I couldn't do that without sharing that story happened right before I recorded this. But I'm still here. I'm still showing up. Was I annoyed by all of that? Absolutely. But I said, I cannot sit here and try to be perfect for the for the Overcoming Perfectionism podcast episode, right? And I'm not, because I've learned that I can still be excellent, that I can learn along the way, that I can set reasonable goals and just talk about real things with my podcast listeners. And then you guys know what I'm talking about, right? And this, you can't change your mindset without also doing the actions and identifying as the person who has the mindset you're looking to have. Because if I didn't show up, if I didn't show up after all that happened, and I only showed when I felt good or when I felt right, it wouldn't be as authentic, right? At least I don't think so. You do what you want, but I feel like if you are really clear on your vision and you're sure of why you do things and you're going into things with the right intention, it will always come through. And you guys let me know in the comments, like, did that come through? Are you feeling like, okay, I know how I can start letting go of perfectionism, because I see how it's causing me to procrastinate. I see how it's causing me to not be disciplined. It's caused me to not have success in certain areas because I've been holding myself back. But now I'm learning how to actually focus on excellence. I'm learning how to learn and how to set reasonable goals and like overcome mistakes or reframe how I'm seeing mistakes so that I can actually take more action. So the last step of the 4 things that I have done to shift myself from perfectionism to progressionism is I started identifying as a progressionist, right? So in order to overcome perfectionism, sometimes we have to replace it with something else that also makes us feel good. So something that I saw that was like so profound is stop identifying as a perfectionist and instead start identifying as a progressionist. Now, a progressionist is someone who strives on progressing, on growing, on becoming better. It's someone who loves to keep doing better, becoming better, learning new things, just keeps on glowing up and evolving into their best self, but they're not doing it from a place where they need to be flawless or a place where they need to be perfect, right? It's all about showing up and not criticizing yourself, but giving yourself compassion or giving yourself critiques that also help you to learn and grow, right? It's constructive criticism. And the reason I really like this is because it gives us something else to identify with. Because if you've been identifying with perfectionism, if you've been saying, I'm a perfectionist, I like to do things really, really great, I want things to be perfect, I want it to show up as my best, start seeing it now as I want to show up as a progressionist because I can always progress. I can always make things better. I can always lower the pressure that I'm putting on myself and really just focus on growth and learning and development because that's what life is all about. We're always going to be evolving and developing. So why not shift perfectionism with progressionism? Because a lot of times the perfectionism pressure that we're putting on ourselves is self-inflicted. So let's reframe how we're doing it by identifying as a progressionist, giving ourselves grace, and really celebrating our success and not just the success at the end as in the result, but our success along the way, the milestones along the way that help us to become masters at what we want to become. Because believe me, I wasn't always the best public speaker. I wasn't always the best, most confident person. I wasn't always the person who wanted to speak online or even in person or go on speaking events or coach clients, right? I'm thinking of all the things that I've done like in the last couple of years. I moved to a new state. I became a parent. I became a wife. Like I have done things that I didn't always know whether or not they would work out, but I did them in a place where I realized, I can always learn and grow. I can just go after these things and see how it goes. And if there's one thing I know about me is I'm going to always learn and develop. I'm always going to want to focus on progressing. I'm always going to know that if I have a will, there's always a way and that everything is figure outable, which is Marie Forleo's book and also like one of her phrases that she says all the time that I really love, but it's so true. Everything can be figured out. And if you are someone who has identified as a perfectionist in the past, I know that you're someone who strives to do your best. I know that you're someone who can pick it up and keep going and follow through. So that tells me that you can do that with anything. Remember that perfectionism is no longer a strength in your eyes. After watching this episode, I want you to start identifying as a progressionist instead. I also want you to stop holding yourself back because you're trying to make sure something is 100% or that it is the absolute most perfect thing you've ever produced or that it needs to be the best and you haven't even defined what that is, and start just putting things out there, getting things done, completing it, seeing how it goes, and then doing it over and over again until you get better at it. The reason why something you're doing isn't working out, maybe because you don't have enough practice. You haven't put in enough reps. A lot of times we put in more reps. If we keep practicing, we keep getting better, we keep getting more confident, and we keep showing up. I know even for me, when I started doing lives, which was super, super scary for me, I started doing Instagram lives, I think in like 2020, 2021, or whenever it came out. And the reason why I started doing them is because I wanted to get comfortable talking to people in real time in front of public audiences. And I also wanted to start getting more speaking engagements. And I knew I needed to show myself speaking. So I was so nervous in the beginning. I was like sweating every single time. I mean, I still sweat when I go live. I'm probably sweating right now. Right? Like it's just the anxious tendencies that come up that I have learned to let go of nerves and just see it as excitement, because in our bodies, it's the same feeling. I'm nervous or when I'm excited, it's the same feeling. So I might as well go after it and stop trying to be perfect and just be myself, because I know I have something to share. And even if I just connect with one person, I know it's going to make an impact. And I know that whatever you have to share is something that's going to make an impact on others, even if it's just one person or even if it's just for you. Go out and do it. So that is your action item for this episode. I want you to pick one area of your life where you have been waiting for perfection, where you have been waiting to be perfect, where you have just been holding yourself back. And I want you to just take messy action. Take messy action this week. Just start on it. Like, the key is to just get going. Let yourself be seen in the journey. Let yourself be seen in the becoming and not just the arrival. And we all love to watch it. We love to watch people from the bottom to the top, right? We love to see how they've gotten there. We love to see their journey along the way. We like to see the ups and downs. So don't be afraid to show that journey. Even if you're not sure how it's going to end up in the end, it's more realistic if you show the journey, because I know that if you're a highly ambitious, high achieving person, you're not going to stop until you achieve that dream and that goal that you have in your heart, even if you don't achieve it until you're 99, right? You're going to keep going and going and going because you believe in yourself. And what that shows is that you're someone who really values learning and growing. So start identifying as a progressionist. Let go of perfectionism forever and ever. I don't even want you to use the term anymore. When you catch yourself using the term, check yourself and say, nope, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm a progressionist. I focus on learning and growing and getting better. I focus on taking messy action until I get to where I want to be. And I've accepted that I'm excellent. I don't need to be perfect, right? I can learn, I can grow, I can set reasonable goals. And I know that if there's a will, there's always a way. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are ready to take your goals to the next level, if you're ready to manage your time better, then go ahead and book your time audit call. It's a free session with me where I will audit your time. That will be linked in the description. And if you are watching this in real time, I'm also doing a free masterclass on how to reclaim your time so you can feel more balanced, productive, and peaceful. That will be going down on Wednesday, April 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. I will leave all the information for that masterclass and how you can join, also linked in the show notes / description, depending on where you are watching. Let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway was and what is something that you're going to start taking messy action on after watching this episode. I can't wait to hear from you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.